Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited that you are here tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Beth Allen. I'm the founder of Hip Chicks. Hip Chicks stands for the Home Improvement Project Chicks. It is a business focused on teaching women about home repair and home maintenance. But remember, men are always welcome at Hip Chicks. This is learned behavior. It's not genetic. I have 3 sons and I teach them everything I know. My husband is handy, but I am far handier than he. He does all the laundry. So tonight we are going to visit a topic called 5 tips to save $500 or more on home repair. And I created this webinar because I believe it is so important for us to have the knowledge, the skill, and the guts to try to tackle those little everyday things. There are things that happen around the house that might make you feel flustered initially when they happen, but I want to empower you to step back and go, wait a minute. I learned how to do this. This is not so difficult. I can spend 15 or 20 minutes. I can get this done and get back to life. So my whole point is to save you money, stress, and time with some very practical solutions to 5 common things that go wrong in a house. On average, any one of these professional contractor visits could run from $95 to $150 a pop just to have that provider come out. So if I can save you that money by having you troubleshoot and fix the easy stuff, then you can save money and your calls to the pros for the larger projects. So let's dive in to some of these super easy projects. I'm going to share my screen and show you my slideshow that I have tonight. And we are going to go through the slides from the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to move our chat box out of the way. I'm going to just minimize that for the moment. Okay, what we're talking about are outlets that don't work. We're talking about the clogged garbage disposer, thermostat control, flood prevention, garage doors. Again, 5 big ticket items that when they go wrong, it's a problem. There we go. Again, it's all about saving you money, stress, and time. I fervently believe that we're busy. We're moms, we're workers, we're taking care of people, we're busy parents. So that's the whole focus, money, stress, and time. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is $500. What could you do with $500 if you're not making service calls? Think about that. For my family, travel is number 1. It's huge for us to go places. That's why I want you to get into that mindset of problem solving on your own and tackling some of these things. The photo of me on the traveling shot is me visiting the home of my great granny in Ireland 2 years ago. Those are the kinds of moments in my life that if I can DIY my way to a vacation, I certainly will. And then larger improvements. That's my kitchen that I did myself a number of years ago. I hung every cabinet, I laid the tile, I did the lighting. So you can learn to DIY and save a fortune. We probably saved over 20 grand by doing all of that work ourselves. But we're going to start easy tonight. We're going to start with some easy things. So let's talk about bad outlets. Okay, this is something that is very important. What I want you to understand is that sometimes you plug something in and you don't get any power. And your first thought is, oh no, I got to call someone. No, there's a few things you need to do first. One, I'd like you to invest in a $10 tester. What you see in that photo is what's called a neon tester. It is a very simple device, roughly $10. It has 2 prongs and the 2 prongs go into the outlet. And it will show you with a light indicator that the outlet has power or does not. The only problem with that is that you sometimes have to test your tester. So make sure that you test your tester in an outlet that you know is working and has no problems. And then you can try it on the questionable outlet to make sure that the device, your tool for testing, is working. Now, ground fault interrupter. Many of you have these in your house. If you do not have one, that means your house is older and has an more of an old-fashioned electrical system and is often required to be upgraded at a sale. So the ground fault, or the GFI, is a special outlet that is required by law in rooms that have exposure to water. So we're talking about laundry rooms, kitchens, bathrooms. Could be a garage if it has a hose bib or a laundry utility sink. It could be your basement, the utility room where the hot water heater, things like that are. Now, the reason those things are there is that it's supposed to help with reducing risk of shock if there is a water spray or hazard in that room with electricity. Now, you may not have one of these in your bathroom or in your laundry room, but the outlets in those rooms are tied into a GFI somewhere else. So this is an important tip. If you have an outlet in your house that is not working, I want you to find the GFIs in your house, and I want you to push the reset button. There is a test and reset button. You're going to press the reset button on your GFI. There may be several of them in your house, so you want to make sure you know where they all are. Could be behind a refrigerator, you don't know, but it's important to identify where they are and reset all of the GFIs to get your power back on. And that will often restore power because your electrical outlets are on a series. So you could have 7 outlets on one circuit, and the ground fault interrupter might be the 3rd one in the row. And if it gets tripped because of a hair dryer that overheated or something else like that, if it trips, then everything beyond it, okay, number 4, 5, 6, and 7 outlet will then be shut down. So it's important to know where your GFIs are, test the reset button, and then plug something back in and see if you've restored power. Now, if that has not worked, you need to check that circuit breaker. That circuit breaker box should be in every house. I just sold my mother's house, and we did not have a circuit breaker. We had little round glass fuses from the 50s. So that house, as part of the sale agreement, the owners were, the new buyers, excuse me, were updating the electrical system. But most of you will have a circuit breaker box in a basement or utility closet. You should know where it is. You should understand that the top button is your electrical main, kills all the power in the whole house. Otherwise, they're marked individually. Now, if you have a bad outlet and it has tripped a circuit, you will notice that the switch on that circuit could have been flipped. You see they're all in the middle when they're on, and they can flip to the side when they're off. Keep in mind that you want to feel those switches. Don't just look. If you looked at those switches, you might see that they all look like they're in alignment and in the on position. But in reality, the dilemma is that when they trip, sometimes they pop back and they're just not locked into place. So here's an important tip. You want to feel those breakers and make sure none of them are loose and wiggly. If it is wiggly, turn it off and then turn it back on. You don't want to pay an electrician to push that button 1/8 of an inch to snap it back into place. And I've seen it happen so many times. So those are your electrical tips. You want to check that that breaker button has been flipped off and tripped or flipped back into on position so it is tight. If for some reason it trips again, then you need a pro because there's a problem with an overload of that circuit. Now, oops, let me go back a page. People always ask me, here's a bonus tip, right side up or upside down on those outlets? Well, it actually doesn't matter. You can have your outlet with the grounding plug, the circular hole at the top or at the bottom. Either way is up to code by the electrical standard nationally. So don't worry about that. Now, potential problem with that outlet with the arrow. If you see the dark discoloration at the top, this is an outlet that had a space heater plugged into it. The outlet started to burn and smell. The heater was overloading the circuit, the outlet. So Keep in mind, if you see discoloration, if you smell something, if you see sparks, these are things that may need attention. So do not ignore them, okay? And again, bulbs matter. When a device tells you how many bulbs or what wattage you need in a bulb, it is important that you follow those directions, okay? Bulbs matter, choose wisely. And please remember that if you are trying to put an LED bulb into a fixture, make sure that it is dimmable if you have a dimmer switch. Not all LED bulbs can be dimmed. So please be sure that you have the proper bulb for the proper fixture. Okay, let's talk about the disposal blues. It is literally money going down the drain if you have to call a pro to tackle some of these easy things. So you could have a disposer that is clogged, napping, or it's dead. So before we move into the guts of restoring your disposal, let's talk about those cheap clog busters. This is a tip that I love to share with folks, that you can use baking soda, vinegar, and my little mini sink plunger to get things moving again in your drains. If you have a clog, sinks, tubs, showers, even your garbage disposer, these are safe, easy products for those. So you would take a 3/4 a cup of baking soda, pour it into your drain. You're going to follow it up with equal amount of vinegar, and you're going to close your drain and let that little experiment of fizz and bubbles all work on the gunk in your drain. So you want to keep that drain closed. Wait about 10 minutes, pour a kettle of hot water down there, and it will help clear out a lot of gunk. Now, the mini sink plunger is something to have as a backup if you really want to help push some air, move some of the clogs, and get rid of the gunk that is down there. That little mini sink plunger is $2.98 at Home Depot. You can't go wrong, okay? Remember, $2.98 to clearing a clog is a lot better than spending $125 on a plumber. So let's look at the bottom of the disposer. Now, I know many of you have never seen the bottom of the disposer, and I wouldn't expect you to. But few things I want you to understand. If you turn on your disposer and you flip the wall switch and you hear it grinding, but it's not chopping properly, like the motor's trying, but it's just stuck, or you hear that the grinding of a spoon or something inside, that means you have an obstruction. So we do not stick our hand blindly into the garbage disposer. That's just a bad idea. But there is an obstruction that we're aware of. So what you can do safely is take a disposer wrench. It is that little tool in the top corner. It is basically an Allen wrench, a double-ended Allen wrench. You put it into the hole on the center of the garbage disposer where the yellow arrow is. You put the Allen wrench into the hole, and it allows you to turn the blades forwards and backwards. So you can clear the obstruction, because sometimes that obstruction is, food bits and gunk, and sometimes it could be a bottle cap or, a baby bottle, who knows, something that got stuck in there. So the idea is if you use the Allen wrench, you can move the blades forwards and backwards and free the obstruction. Then you will use tongs to reach in, grab it, and pull it out. Now, there are those moments when we have flipped the wall switch and we get nothing. We're getting no power whatsoever. In that case, it could be that you have overworked your disposer. I know some folks love shoving every bit of food scraps into their disposer, and then they try to run it and it just can't keep up with what they're asking of it. So if you find you have no power whatsoever when you hit the wall switch, the first thing I want you to do is consider that the power reset button on the disposer needs to be reset. So you see the little red button off to the side. That little button needs to be reset. The disposer itself has a built-in little circuit breaker. So every now and then, if you've overloaded it, the circuit breaker itself needs to be reset. So hold that button down for 5, 6, 7 seconds. It's usually enough to reset it. Now you go back up, turn on your water, turn on your wall switch, and usually you'll get your disposer running. So remember, you have the 2 holes at the bottom. One is the very center for your Allen wrench for obstructions, okay? That'll help you loosen anything that's clogged and stuck inside the well of your disposer. Now, the red button off to the side is your reset button. You don't have to see under there. You can't see it in this photo, but the center hole actually protrudes and sticks out in the metal, so you can feel it very easily. And you'll feel the red button too, if you just, wiggle around under there. Feel free, turn your cell phone on selfie mode and put it under, and you can help find those buttons a little more easily as well. So keep in mind that you want to reset your disposer here on the machine. If that does not get the power going again, I want you to go to the circuit breaker. Go back to the circuit breaker box and check the breakers for the kitchen, because it might be that it tripped here at the unit and at the breaker, and that will be enough to get it running again. So sometimes you have to wake it up with your reset button from its nap, and then sometimes if the restoring the breaker and the reset button, it means it has died. So if you believe that your disposer has died, I want you to consider buying a new disposer yourself. Call the plumber and be very specific. Say to him or her, how much will it cost for you to install a new disposer? I would like to buy it myself. That will save you a few bucks because they're going to charge you for their time to go and buy it, which is justifiable. But you can ask them clearly up front, what will you charge me to do this install? And you'll have it on hand. You can buy the same exact one that you had before, the same horsepower. That's how they're rated, a 1/3 or a 1/2 horsepower. So keep that in mind. That's how you can save some money getting your disposer running again. Now let's move on to leak prevention and detection. This is a big problem. Water causes more damage in homes than almost anything else aside from fire. So it's important that we protect our house and alarm our water devices. Now, when I say water devices, I'm talking about the washer, the water heater, the refrigerator when it has a water line attached, a water softener, okay? These are things that are in the house that are containing and connected to large amounts of water and have huge leak potential. So I want you to take note of the side of my, this is my washing machine in the laundry room. I have a water alarm on the side. This one is made by GE. It is a little alarm. It has a sticky adhesive on the back of the hexagon, and it has a little adhesive on the back of the prongs, the little electrodes. So you attach it to the side of the unit with the sensor device up high and the electrode just skimming the surface of the floor, so that if there is a leak, it can detect it and an alarm is sounded. Now, I will be honest with you, it's pretty loud. It operates on hearing aid batteries, and it runs about $15 to $20 depending on which style and which store you buy it. But keep in mind, you do want to change the batteries on these buggers once a year to make sure that they're still functioning. It has a test mode, so it's very easy for you to test it and make sure that it's still working. But I have these devices on my washer, my water heater, the back of my fridge, the water softener, and I forgot on here, I also have put one under the dishwasher panel where that kick plate is. We just had new floors installed in our house. Well, I installed them, but when I installed the new hardwood, I wanted to make sure I was protecting the floors, and I have a water alarm under the dishwasher behind the panel. So if we have a leak, I shall know it. The other alarm that I'm showing you down there is the watchdog alarm. That's a different style. It's like a transistor radio, and it has two little electrodes on the bottom. That one runs on a 9-volt battery, and it's just a little box. So it can really be set almost anywhere. I have it in my kitchen cabinet under the sink because, again, I just put down beautiful new hardwood flooring and I want to make sure I don't miss a leak. So I have that sitting right under the drain assembly near where the water supply lines are. So if water starts to leak and collect in there, I will hear about it. So consider these little devices. Like I said, they're $15 to $20 a piece. Sometimes you can find deals on Amazon where you find them cheaper and, you know, packs of 4, but it will protect your flooring. And it is so huge because the amount of damage that comes from water can be in the thousands and thousands of dollars. So these are just 2 simple techniques to help you prevent that type of thing from happening. And I'm sorry, I would rather spend, you know, even $100 on these devices around my house, you know, making sure I've alarmed the water heater and the washer and all of these things, and not have thousands of dollars in repairs down the road. So make sure you use the alarms, check the batteries, and replace them yearly. Now, let's talk about another big leak problem. I've had this conversation with so many folks. I want to make sure that everybody that's listening knows where the water main is in their house. That means it is a copper pipe coming through your house from the outside water supply. So it is likely found in a garage or a basement or utility room, depending on whether you're in a single house, townhouse, condo, things like that. The water main, it is the one valve that shuts down the entire flow of water to your whole house. So if you find you have a leak and you don't know what to do about it, where it's coming from, just shut it off. Just shut the water down before it causes real damage. Now, in this picture, I have labeled this. Now, my children are grown. You know, they are 16 to 22. Every single one of my children has been taken to the water closet where this water main is and shown where it is and how to shut it off. Because if you are not home and there's a major leak, how do you instruct your children what to do? How do you empower them to take care of your property before it's a massive disaster? So please make sure, label it if you feel that would help your family, know where it is. And people laugh at me. The #1 vacation protection task is turn off your water before you travel. I do it every single trip we go on. So I will run to the basement and I will turn off the water. I will turn the valve until the water stops flowing. I will run upstairs and I will open the kitchen faucets and let all the water drain from upstairs so that there's no water flowing in the pipes, so that I can leave the house and know that if something did burst or a pipe got frozen because the heat turned off and the house got really cold, anything like that, that there's no water flowing to cause damage. Now, if you cannot turn off the whole house, maybe you have someone coming to watch the pets, maybe, this is not a maybe. If you have baseboard heat or radiant heat, radiators, those 2 devices, heating sources, need water to heat. So you do not want to turn the whole house off in those situations. Again, if you have baseboard heat, radiators, it's radiant heat, they need water to perform. You don't turn the whole house off. In that case, you want to make sure that you are turning off the washing machine valves, the hot and cold behind the washer, and turn off toilet valves. Those are the 2 big culprits for massive leaks. Please make sure that you, at a minimum, turn off the washing machine and the toilet, okay? If you are leaving someone to watch your pets, and you know, you can leave them bottled water, things like that. You know, think about what is your risk, how old is the house, you know, have you had any recent leaks and little things like that. If you, for some reason, find the house has a leaky water main, okay? If the water main itself, you go to turn it off and it drips or it leaks, you need to have that replaced right away, okay? And that is something you have to have a plumber come and do for you. That is not a DIY project if you need a new water main valve, because they have to turn the water off at the street to do that. And that's something you want to hire a professional for, so that they can do that safely and make sure that water is restored to your house quickly. I had that done last year. It was worth every penny. We had a bad valve and I found some water in the closet at the water main. It was definitely worth the money to make sure that our water would be able to be shut off in an emergency, okay? So that's a really important task that you need to consider and check out, okay? Let's see, moving on. Ooh, too hot and too cold. I'm a big Katy Perry fan, so that's a little shout out to her. This has happened to us several times in our house. So we've had an issue in our house that we've walked in and the AC didn't work, or we've walked into the house and the heat wasn't on. And your first thought is, oh my gosh, I need a new heater. What's going on? It's dead. No, I don't want you to panic when you find that. Most people today have replaced the old Honeywell circle dial. Remember the old, brass tone circle dials on the wall? Well, those thermometers and thermostats were regulated with mercury, like an old time thermometer. The newer ones, like this one, the programmable, whether it's a simple Honeywell, whether it's a Nest, some of these fancy ones, all of these thermostats are battery operated. And we often overlook the fact that there are batteries in these buggers. So the first time this happened, I had that moment of panic. Oh boy, the heat's not working. What am I going to do? How do I problem solve? So I took the thermostat off of the wall. If you lift the front face of the thermostat off, you will notice that part of it is screwed to the wall where the wires come through, and then the front face pulls off and the batteries are on the back. So if your heater is not working, check your thermostat. First thing you need to do is go look, is the screen on my programmable thermostat blank? Is it gone? I can't see anything. So when that's the situation, you want to replace the batteries. How easy is that? You don't want to pay $100 for the HVAC Pro to come when you could replace batteries. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're troubleshooting. The other thing that you could have happen with a thermostat is that let me just make sure you understand that the thermostat is wired from the heater to the thermostat up in the wall. Okay, that's how they communicate. There is low voltage wiring that runs through the walls, and that voltage coming in, there could be something wrong at the unit. The unit itself might have been turned off accidentally. Perhaps somebody was walking in the basement and they walked past your heater and they flipped the off switch. So it could be that the heater is turned off actually at the unit, and it could be that there's a circuit breaker issue. So check that as well and see, one, does your thermostat have power? Is the battery died and now you need to replace the batteries? Or has the unit itself lost power and you need to check the circuit breaker and reset that? If you have checked those two things, then you may want to call the pro. But these are two very simple things, okay? It's about AC/DC. Is the battery power flowing to that thermostat? And is regular power flowing to the unit itself? So do remember that there's an on-off switch on the furnace, heater, whatever you want to call it, on the unit itself, okay? there is a switch. So moving on from that one, this is a really important bonus tip that I always want to throw in for people because it's important. Are you a fan of saving money? So most of the ceiling fans that we all have today, the more modern ones, have a switch on the motor. And the switch on the motor allows you to change the direction of the blades. So it's important to understand that if you change the direction of the blades, it allows the air to move certain ways. If the blades are spinning clockwise, that means the air is being pushed down, the warm air. Remember, warm air rises. So you want to push the air down in the winter by spinning the blades clockwise so that that warm air is in the living space. In the summer, you want the blades to spin counterclockwise so that it pulls the warm air up to the ceiling so that your living space has cooler air. This is a very simple task. This is the task that I do in our house. Actually, my husband does it because he's taller and it's easier. That we do with changing the clock. So we just did this past weekend. Now you can wait until it really starts to warm up in the summer and do it more around when you really feel, you're using your AC or putting the heat on and things like that. But the power in that fan is really useful. So make sure that you're looking at the blades, you're rotating. If you're not sure, just literally you stand under it, you turn it on and see which direction it moves and flip your switch accordingly. And while you're there, clean the fan blades. You'd be surprised how much dirt and dust builds up over time. It just lays there, and while you're sleeping, it's being tossed back on you, and it just looks gross sitting on the blades, and then it's landing on you, and it's got dust and dander and dust mites and all that good stuff. So please make sure you clean the blades. It's a good time that while you're up there to do that. You can use a Swiffer cloth, you can use a damp rag, a big fuzzy duster, whatever, but you want to make sure that you're keeping those blades clean and keeping your air cleaner in the process. So let's take a look at the garage doors. Now, again, this is a big ticket item. And I share this with you because I had a client who, she lives in a large home, and myself and another friend helped manage the property. And we had just 3-car garage. And we had garage doors that we could not figure out what was going on with these garage doors. And he taught me how to troubleshoot and fix it. So I'm passing it on because as much as I love Jack, he's a great guy. I don't want you to pay him $95, that's what he charged, to come out and do this simple task. So let's talk about what can go wrong with those garage doors. Number one is obstruction, okay? Something is stuck in the way, all right? Now, the second one is a misaligned signal, and I'll explain that in a moment. The third is a battery failure, and we'll talk about that too. So take a look at what can go wrong here. Obstruction. What's in the way? Toys, lawn gear, sports gear. At my house, it could be stray furniture waiting to be rehabbed. My garage is a work in progress at all times. So keep in mind that the I-beams for your garage door, okay, there's one on each side. The 2 I-beams, they are wired to the remote, or not to the remote, to the motor. Okay, you see the little white coil wires? That goes all the way up the wall, across the ceiling, to your motor for your garage doors. Now, you will notice that the image on the left has a white arrow pointing at a little green dot. The image on the right has an orange, yellowy, white dot. Now, the green dot means that it is aligned with its partner and it's ready to go. A yellow orange dot means that the I-beam, the laser beam, is not aligned with its partner. So if you try to open or close your door and it's not going down, not going up, it could be that somebody banged into these I-beam devices and that they're not facing one another. The I-beams must face each other. So you need to have one on the left and one on the right, both with a green dot facing one another. Okay, you won't have one green and one yellow. They'll both be yellow or they'll both be green. So it is important that you take a look at the black device there, and you see the little clips that are attached to the steel track for the door. You can adjust the angle that the black sensor sits on. You can also use the little silver wing nut to loosen it and adjust it. So you need a buddy so that you can have someone, both of you on your knees, looking at these sensors and making sure that the sensors are catching one another, that they're at the right height and they're at the right angle, so that when they see one another, they'll both turn green. That is all that this garage door provider came out and did. He played with these two sensors until the beams lined up, and poof, they both worked. So you don't need to pay somebody $95 to come and do this. This is a simple, easy task that you can get a buddy to help you and align them. You can do it yourself. It's just a lot of back and forth. It's faster if you have someone else to help you. But again, super easy, and you can do this on your own with no problem. Okay. Now, the next issue can be what I call calling Captain Obvious, is that we overlook some of the obvious things that can go wrong. Now, many of us forget that there are batteries involved, and batteries go bad. So if you have a keypad on the wall of your garage door entry, okay, right on the wood frame, keep in mind there's a 9-volt battery in that keypad. That keypad may have had a bad battery. That's why you're pushing buttons, you're trying to get everything to go up and down. It's not the door opener, it's the communication tool to tell it what to do. So check that. And then don't forget that your garage door remotes themselves have batteries. So those are large button batteries. So you want to make sure that you take a look inside of those. They can be a little tricky to open. You're going to need like a small Swiss Army knife and kind of pop. There's a little crack on the side of the remote, and you kind of got to get a knife in there and wedge it and kind of twist it. And once you pop it open, you can see the battery. And again, they come in a 2-pack usually, and you can get your remotes functioning in no time. Very easy to do. Now, the other problem that can happen that is caused for your door openers to stop functioning is that the power to the opener has failed. So take a look, all of the openers have an outlet right above, and the plug goes right into the ceiling. So it could be that maybe somebody was moving debris or kids bouncing a ball or whatever, and the cord has loosened in the outlet and your openers just don't have power anymore. So again, if it's not working, I want you to troubleshoot. I want you to think about, are there batteries involved? Is there electricity involved? Where is there a break in the chain of power that's causing these things to malfunction? There's often a fairly easy solution to these things. And I don't want you to spend money for these simple things. Now, you see me with my can of Pam. I'm a big fan of using Pam cooking spray around the house. I've even used it on vacation. Pam is a great lubricant for hinges and pulley systems and levers and all sorts of things. It doesn't smell badly, and it's not WD-40, which has that strong chemical smell, and it's also black. Pam comes out, it's clear, it's cooking spray, it's just canola oil under pressure. So in a pinch, I've also poured a little capful of olive oil onto squeaky things. But you can lubricate that squeaky door just by hitting it with some Pam. And again, it works great on hinges. I especially love using it at the shore when you rent a house and all of the hinges squeak to the high heavens because of the salt water and rusty buildup. And The first night I can't stand the noise and I just spray everything in the house and then it's quiet again. So keep Pam in your back pocket for some quick problem solving. So I always tell you why I believe these 5 tips will save you more than $500. Your time is money. A lot of us, when we have a problem in our house, will call our friend, or we will go onto Facebook and say, hey, I need a plumber, I need, an HVAC guy. And your friends all write back to you all afternoon, and then you decide on the number and you call, and he doesn't call you back for 2 days, and then they call another guy and you don't get an answer, or he says he'll come and maybe he can't or doesn't show. It happens. So in the meantime, you've gone maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days without having this thing repaired. And it's an inconvenience, it's annoying, it's frustrating. All of these things I just shared with you were not rocket science. It'd just be that maybe nobody's told you about them. No one's given you the information before. So your time is money. If you can spend 15 minutes getting this fixed, it's a lot better than waiting 2 days to gather all these phone numbers and make calls and sit around waiting and being frustrated. Now, skill set. I'm telling you, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I bought my house, I could not do half of what I can do today. I have redid my entire kitchen. I redid my entire bathroom. I have laid hardwood. I do electric, plumbing, all of these tasks. I started off small. And I want you to know that every time you do projects, you're learning problem-solving skills and your skill set will continue to grow. Kids learn from your abilities, okay? You don't want them living in your basement forever. So it's time to teach your kids. When they see you problem-solving, I'm telling you, it changes the way they approach life, because they realize they don't have to call someone to fix things for them every single time. It just is so empowering. So get your kids involved. Therapy is expensive, and getting it done faster is just one less stressor you need in life. And honestly, DIY can be a heck of a lot of fun, and that's always good medicine for you. But I want to share something else with you guys. If you want to save even more money on your home, I do want to tell everybody about the new Hip Chicks Home Clinic. I've done a lot of research, and this is the first and only online DIY classroom for women homeowners. Again, men are always welcome here, but I target women because there is such a need for women to be brought into the home scene, to be brought into this DIY world, because we've been excluded for so long. And ladies, I say this with 100% of my heart. We as females, some of us may not have, but we have the human ability to give birth to a human. There is no reason why we can't tackle a toilet. So I decided to launch this classroom because I want to build an entire library of resources for women that they can go to, where they can watch and learn at their own pace, at their own time, and they can feel empowered to tackle their home. I grew up in a house where we lived paycheck to paycheck. We didn't have a lot of money. My mom always found a way to make our house look nice. And it was thrift stores, garage sales. We DIY'd. She would talk to people in the aisle and learn from pros in the stores. And that's how I've approached life. So I want to pass that sense of empowerment and that knowledge that I have on to all of you. So our first 4 classes are live. The first one is Security for the Single Girl. It's not just for single women by any stretch, but it was a cute name. It tackles home security and safety, how to safeguard yourself, how to safeguard your possessions, how to make sure your home is lit well, and you're safe not just from an intrusion and a burglary, but physical tripping and fall risks and things like that. So the next one is Pinktown Red. Red is my absolute favorite color, if anyone knows me well. And with Paint the Town Red, we tackle planning, choosing your colors, getting started on your color pathway, tackle products, tools, how to save money, where to get the coupons, things like that, because paint is a huge, the power of paint to change a space is just unremarkable. It's the best. I absolutely love paint. You can change a room in a day, but you don't want to be wasting your time or money on product or hiring someone because it's the wrong sheen, the wrong color, all of that. So we go into all of those details. The third class is build your own cornice board. And you see me there with a cornice board I had made for a client. It was actually a set of 4. So a lot of folks would love to have that beautiful window treatment, but they don't have $400 to pay for custom window treatments. So I show you for about $75 or less how to build your own cornice board for your windows. And then the last one is clogs. It's the clog clinic. And I dive deep into the garbage disposer and toilets and sinks and taking apart the drain assembly and all of those things. So it's really a money saver that you can use for the rest of your life, because once you learn these things, you're not afraid to dive under the sink and figure things out. So, so what do you get in the home clinic classes? What you get is the video course. It's 45 to 75 minutes, depending on the topic. You'll get printable tip sheets and guides. I provided each class with a shopping list of the products and tools that I use and recommend, so you don't have to be wondering, where do I find these? Every person who takes a class can join the Hip Chicks private Facebook group, and that's where I will pop in. I'll answer quick questions. You guys can feed off of each other, share projects, share your wins, your dilemmas, and learn and grow from one another as well as from me. And then I will be offering with that a live coaching call once a month via Zoom, like we are today. But you guys, you know, I expect it to be a smaller group and we'll be interacting. And you can send me ahead of time what your problems are, what your concerns, what you're stuck on, and I'll help walk you through it and teach everybody else at the same time. So those will be 1 hour a month that you get 3 months worth per class you take. And I'm also going to be offering private coaching calls where people can book time with me to dive deep into a project they want to do, and we'll offer a discount for students on that. So you can learn on your time, at your pace, in your place. So the classes start at $37. And for anybody that's here who registers in the next 24 hours for a class, oh, I'm sorry, it's actually 48. We're going to extend it to Wednesday evening. You will get $10 off your first class. So I'll be sharing that info with you in just a second. So the classroom is open. It's time for you to end your dependence. You don't have to worry if you forget something I taught you. You can watch the replays forever. You can always go back into them. It's interactive learning. You'll connect with me. You'll connect with other ladies. One of these DIY repairs alone will be worth your investment in a class, because you'll save money for sure. So you'll get a good ROI or return on your investment. And you're investing in you. You're investing in your financial future and in your home. So if you didn't take everything in tonight, we're going to send a replay with the course so that you'll be able to watch this again if you want to remember. And if you want to share it with somebody, that's great. So all of these classes are online classes. These are not live classes. So the cornice board class, the clog clinic, the security, all of these are online. So you take them independently. But so many women have asked me over the last 7 years of me teaching at community colleges and libraries and things, and via YouTube, that they want online programming because they can't come to classes all the time. They can't physically get there. So that's why I started the whole home clinic, so that I can reach more women and give you more of the empowerment and the guidance that you need. So we will be sending out a recap email, which will have the information about the home clinics. It'll have your coupon code. It'll have a replay for the webinar, so you can watch it. If you have a girlfriend you want to share it with, please, you know, by all means do that. Share it with a friend. We want to be able to get as many women involved in taking care of their home and feeling confident and feeling empowered, because I can't tell you what it has meant to me and my family over the years that we don't have to call someone every time something happens. And you look at me and you go, oh yeah, you can flip a kitchen. You know, I flipped my mother's house recently. I didn't start off doing that. It was small steps. And with every project that I did, I figured out what I did wrong. I learned more. I read more. I watched videos. I talked to pros, and I built my skill set. And there's something so powerful about not being dependent on somebody to do these things. Now, I will be honest with you. I have a laundry list of things. My house is far from perfect. My husband and I were in the car the other day for an hour, and we wrote a list of 30 things that we know that we need to fix in this house. Some of them are real simple. It's some paint touch-ups here and there. But I need to replace 2 faucets in my kids' bathroom. I will be filming that from soup to nuts. So that'll be a class coming, how to change an entire faucet. I have a number of other classes that are in the queue coming. One will be the drill sergeant. It'll be an entire hour on power drills, taking them apart, understanding how to work your drill, what all the parts, the accessories, what you can do with it. I know so many women who have drills but never really turn them on because they just don't know what to do with all of that power. So there'll be a lot more classes to come. I have at least 24 topics on my list, and I would love to hear from you guys if there is a particular topic that you would love to have as a class that I can then put together, because if one of you need it, I'm sure several of you do. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I hope that you learned a lot of things and that you found this to be helpful, practical, and really very doable tasks to help you save money around the house. And again, I thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you from my little team over here at HipChick. Have a good night. We'll talk soon.